Nobody told me that this road would be easy. So if somebody told you that, then don't believe them. Nobody told me that this road would be easy. So if somebody told you that, then don't believe them. Gotta be refined like silver through the fire. Gotta be tried like gold through the fire. Gotta be refined like silver through the fire. Gotta be tried like gold through the fire. You ain't fighting the flesh just cause you giving in. Should've never started the race if you ain't intend to win. Adversity can destroy you or be your best friend. Just cause you fail one time don't make you less than. You just gotta be aware and correct your error. Messiah on the way back, I feel it in the air. Trying to inherit the kingdom, wanna be your fellow heir. If you ain't bring nothing to the table, can't pull up a chair. When I rebuke you, it's love, it's just because I care. Plus when the separation happen, I don't want you to be a tear. You think you ain't gotta do nothing to get eternal life, but that misapplication of grace is a total lie. Gotta be refined like silver through the fire. Gotta be tried like gold through the fire. Gotta be refined like silver through the fire. Gotta be tried like gold through the fire.
Been through the fire like a circus lion, I ain't lying, you can ask a lion of Judah. Fire on me, but it ain't consume me, but burn the porch, hallelujah, sing fame, gold and silver. Try to fire, not a pretty sight. That's how you get Israelites, claiming that they no longer is the Israelites. It get hard sometimes, but growing up with me ain't good doing. I heard the devil was on the job, but I care more about what y'all doing. Shine your light here, influence, big brotherhood, big brother the hood. If we separate from us all bad, then it's nothing left, but it's all good. I lost everything in my life, Matthew 16:25. If I can do it, you can too. It only take a month to see the faith to thrive. Hell nah, it ain't easy, but it's no other way. Y'all's way, y'all was the way, y'all way. Hey.
Gotta be refined like silver through the fire. Gotta be tried like gold through the fire. Gotta be refined like silver through the fire. Gotta be tried like gold through the fire. Nobody told me that this road would be easy. So if somebody told you that, then don't believe them. Nobody told me that this road would be easy. So if somebody told you that, then don't believe them.
A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Gotta trust the Most High to provide. You can't waver. You gotta have faith. You gotta have faith. Never give up. No. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Gotta trust the Most High to provide. You can't waver. You gotta have faith. You gotta have faith. Never give up. No.
Children of the Most High, dominions of the lost tribe. Death before dishonor, so I offer up my whole life. Got a strong wife, righteousness my only type. Isha on my side when I ride, I'm an Israelite. Resurrected out the valley, now I'm moving mountains. Latter rain flood the plains, it's a spirit fountain. I never feel the outcome, cause I only feel the alpha. I meant the olive to the top, I can't live without him.
Man is unstable in all his ways. Gotta trust the Most High to provide. You can't waver. You gotta have faith. You gotta have faith. Never give up. No. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Gotta trust the Most High to provide. You can't waver. You gotta have faith. You gotta have faith. Never give up. No.
I'm just like that tree planted by rivers of water. A river lives within me, so it flows like water. Gotta account for my actions, I do what I order. Obedience comes with sacrifice, I'm trusting the Father. Faith cometh by hearing, but your actions should follow. Gotta change and repent, that might not be your tomorrow. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Yeah, he say one thing, but do the opposite thing. If you ain't keeping the commandments, your sacrifice is in vain. Come before the throne of the Most High, you should be ashamed. If you hate your brother in your heart, you got the spirit of Cain. Unwavering faith, it can help you change your ways, but you can't doubt it, you can't break in reality, that ain't faith. Through frustration and tribulation, you gotta seek his face. Gotta endure to the end, cause that's how you win a race. You can't attain the prize if you can't do what it takes.
A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Gotta trust the Most High to provide. You can't waver. You gotta have faith. You gotta have faith. Never give up. No. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Gotta trust the Most High to provide. You can't waver. You gotta have faith. You gotta have faith. Never give up.
when ye fall into diverse temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. But let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways.
If it ain't in your then it just ain't in mine. If it ain't in your then it just ain't in mine. Can't let your feelings dictate the actions. Our human nature have us prone to get easily distracted. Your attempt is only as good as what you practice. If you a practitioner of sin, homie, you a bastard. It take obedience and faith to be a child of God. Confess with your mouth and not with works, that's what we call a fraud. Get on the narrow path, cause destruction is on the broad. Even then, watch for the hook, gotta keep up your guard. How you be quoting the Lord's prayer but don't submit to God? How you think you gon' get the kingdom if you don't play your part? How you gon' comprehend the light while living in the dark? How you gon' choose what's wrong or right if you don't study his law? If it ain't in your will for me, don't want it in mind, his laws and ways constantly be on my mind. Definitely ain't in mine. Don't want it in mind, his laws and ways constantly be on my mind.
Shalom, family. One of the most important things is for us to be holy. Now, what does that mean? That means we have to separate ourselves from the world and build unity and community. Grab yourself a shirt that expresses that message, and let's not just talk about it, let's live it.
Can't tell me nothing about life if you don't know pain. How you gonna try to coach if you don't know the... It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. Salvation. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. Salvation. It ain't for everybody. It ain't for everybody. Yeah, many are called, but few get chosen. Matthew 22 and 14. My righteousness gonna exceed that of the Pharisees. Do what they... Peace and blessings, family. Peace and blessings. Shalom. Shalom.
Hey, peace, King. Peace, family.
God, all praise to the Most High. We want to start off as we always do by giving all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, whose name is Yahweh, and we do so by Shem Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, and that means in the name of his only begotten Son, who most around the world know as Jesus Christ. I'm your brother Hurt, and tonight's lesson is the Book of Hebrews breakdown, chapter 11, and all praise to the Most High for allowing us all to be here in good health and good spirits, to have breath in our lungs. All praise to the Most High for it. I pray that this lesson is edifying for those of you that are watching live and for those who may catch this stream at a later time on a replay. All praise to the Most High. And as the pinned comment says, thank you for helping us grow the kingdom of the Most High by liking, commenting, and sharing the video.
Please subscribe and turn on the notifications so you don't miss out on future lessons. And this is definitely something that we appreciate out of everybody that does this each week or every class that we do, that y'all making sure y'all sharing and liking and commenting, because it helps the algorithm suggest us to other people who may not be familiar with the truth or who may just be looking for some continuous avid studying of Holy Scriptures and someone to gather with. So all praise to the Most High. And shalom, Brother YP, Sister Kanaya, Brother Aaron, of course, who's on stage, and Sister Andrea. Peace and blessings, fam. Ak, you got anything?
All praise to the Most High. Nothing to add, really. Just like always, make sure to like the video, make sure to subscribe, share, and comment, and do all of those things. Hit the notification bell if you haven't already, so that you can get notified when the lives come on or when a video drops, or in any case whatsoever, when any content comes through, you'll be tapped in on when it comes through. So all praises to the Most High. We appreciate everybody's support, and I'm gonna get out of the way. I'll pass it back to you.
Khan, all praises. And as Brother Aaron had commented, the Hall of Faith. This is what Hebrews chapter 11 is known as and recognized as the Hall of Faith. And if you're not familiar with the chapter, you'll see why we call it the Hall of Faith, or why it's called the Hall of Faith when we get into this. Ak, if you could go ahead and get your screen shared, and we're going to start with the first 3 verses.
I'm trying to load up StreamYard on my laptop. It's giving me a hard time.
Come, and I'll get mine ready to share if yours ain't. Be in a second. And for those of you that may be tuning in that may be new to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future lessons and future content in general. And let's go. Let me get this. So I got it pulled up now. Your screen share still not acting right.
Yeah, it's taking forever to even load up StreamYard.
Time. Okay, so I'm gonna get my screen shared. There we go. Let me make sure this is okay. That's good. All right. If you could, let's just start reading, and let's read the first 3 verses.
It's the book of Hebrews, chapter 11, verse number 1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. For by it the elders obtained a good report. Verse number 3. Through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear.
Khan, all praise. So let's look back at the first verse. It says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. I know we all are familiar with this phrase because it's quoted all around the world. People understand that this is the definition of faith when you look at scripture. And what's so crazy, this is the definition of faith, but we know also there's a definition for sin, and people act like they don't know what that means or where that is in the Bible. But let's go and look at this word substance. Let's look at substance in the Greek. So it's G5287, hypostasis or hypostasis. And let's look down at the outline of biblical usage. And it says a setting or placing under, thing put under, substructure, foundation. That which has foundation is firm. That which has actual existence, a substance, real being, the substantial quality, nature of a person or thing, the steadfastness of mind, firmness, courage, resolution, confidence, firm trust or assurance. And the Strong's definition says from a compound of G5259 and G2476, a setting under, support, i.e. figuratively, concretely, essence, or abstractly, assurance, objectively or subjectively. Confidence, confident, person, substance. So substance is actually confidence or trust. So let's read that with that understanding. Let's read verse 1 with that understanding. Now, faith is the confidence of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So when we actually have faith, we're confident, we trust in the Most High that we're going to receive these things. That's what faith is. But we also understand that in order to have realistic faith, something is needed on your part. People can believe all day, oh, God gonna do it for me, and can be the biggest sinners in the earth. But does that mean that faith is gonna work out in their favor? Nah. Every once in a while, they may get some undeserved kindness, and the Most High may allow things to go a certain way just because he lets the sun shine on the just and the unjust, and the rain to fall on the just and the unjust. But we have to do something in order to facilitate this type of faith, or to have that confidence, have that trust in the Most High that he's going to do these things that we expect from him. Verse 2 says, for by it, the elders obtained a good report. So the elders, when we look at what the elders did, the elders that obtained a good report, and as we continue to read this chapter is going to align with this, the elders that obtained that good report, they were obedient to the Most High. So we can't have this type of faith that's being outlined in Hebrews chapter 11 without having obedience to the Most High also. Verse 3 says, through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. So it says, through faith we understand the worlds were framed by the word of God. So the Most High, he spoke all these things into existence. He created things for certain purposes. So we shouldn't have to look anywhere else for any answers about whatever it may be in your own life or in life in general, why things are how they are, or how things should go, what you should do. We should look to the Most High because he's the one that framed the world in the manner in which it is. Let's look at Deuteronomy chapter 5, verses 32 and 33.
It's the book of Deuteronomy chapter 5, beginning of verse number 32. Ye shall observe to do therefore as the Lord your God hath commanded you. Ye shall not turn aside to the right hand or to the left. Ye shall walk in all the ways which the Lord your God hath commanded you, that ye may live, and that it may be well with you, and that ye may prolong your days in the land which ye shall possess.
Right. So us believing in what he says is going to help us to prosper. And this is how you can have that faith and say, man, I know he's going to do this for me. Why? Because you've already done what you're supposed to do as far as what he commanded you to do. You did that for him. It's not as if the Most High needs anything, but you did that for him in your form of worship by being obedient. So all praise to the Most High. If you want to add to that, you can.
Just not too much to add, but you made mention of faith and it having to be on display, and just to show a passage by a somewhat contemporary writing, like a few hundred years, maybe 100 and something years before what we see in Hebrews. This is Sirach 15:15. It says, if thou wilt to keep the commandments and to perform acceptable faithfulness. When you look at the word for faith and faithfulness, it's the same Greek root, which is pistis, which means belief. It can mean assurance. It could be in reference to fidelity, loyalty, etc. So it's not just merely being convinced of something, but like nothing following suit. But as we're going to read in what's deemed as the Hall of Faith, Hebrews 11, you'll see that many people had faith, and it was actually shown by their actions. It wasn't just, oh, well, this person, he had faith and he just didn't do anything. Like, you don't really see that idea of faith communicated. That's not even a Hebrew idea. So that's all I had, but I'll pass it back to you, King.
Khan, all praise to the Most High. Beautiful point made. And we're gonna jump back to Hebrews 11. And if you could, let's read verses 4 through 7. And Salaki, I don't know why I did that. Okay, there we go.
It's the book of Hebrews, chapter 4, verse number 7. Pardon me. It says, by faith, Abel offered unto God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained witness that he was righteous, God testifying of his gift. And by it, he being dead yet speaketh. By faith, Enoch was translated that he should not see death, and was not found, because God had translated him. For before his translation, he had this testimony that he pleased God. But without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. By faith, Noah, being warned of God of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, preparing an ark to the saving of his house, by the which he condemned the world, and became heir of righteousness, heir of the righteousness which is by faith.
Khan, all praises. So let's look at verse 4 again. It says, by faith, Abel offered unto God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained witness that he was righteous, God testifying of his gifts, and by it he being dead yet speaketh. By faith, Enoch was translated that he should not see death, and was not found, because God had translated him. For before his translation, he had this testimony that he pleased God. Now, verse 6 and verse 7, where is the key? But without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. This is the key right here. Because the way that people view faith in this day and age is just, I believe God gonna do it for me, right? But it's telling us that without faith, it's impossible to please him. Why? Because if we actually have faith in the Most High, that means we're going to listen to what he has told us to do, how to live our life. And so many of our people live their life the way they want to live it. But when it comes down to having faith in God to do something for them, they believe he's going to do it. But it's impossible to please him without faith, having faith in his words, in the things he's commanded us to do that's going to protect us and preserve our life. But we still want our life preserved when we're not being obedient. It makes no sense. It says, by faith, Noah, being warned of God of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by the which he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness which is by faith. So Noah, even though, he heard the Most High tell him, hey, I need you to build this ark. It's going to rain and it's going to flood. Even though he didn't see that actually happen yet, he had to believe that this was true because it came from the Most High. It's the same as like when we look at things that are unclean in the dietary law, and we understand that they're unclean for you. They're abominable. So guess what? Eventually, it's going to harm you if you intake it over and over again. Guess what? A lot of our people don't believe doo-doo stink. So they'll continue to eat these things because they're like, man, it's food. It's just food. Ain't nothing wrong with eating. God don't care about what you eat. When in all actuality, he does. And it's not just that he cares about what you eat. He cares about you. So he informs you that this is wrong and this is bad. So don't do it. And this goes hand in hand with each and every other law that we have. He's trying to protect us from ourselves and from these things that we shouldn't partake in. So when we look at verse 1 again, let's look at verse 1 again. Now, faith is the substance or the confidence, the trust of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. We can't truly say that we have faith in the Most High if we ignore something he's giving us information about. Because even though we don't see the evidence of whatever that is that will manifest if we're disobedient, we still should trust his words that it's going to happen because he said it. Let's go. Let's continue reading out in Hebrews chapter 11. Let's read verses 8 through 10.
Pardon me, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
No, I was just gonna see I was just gonna make one point, if I may.
Go ahead, King.
Just based on like one of the last statements you made in the book of John, I think it's like chapter 20. When in the narrative, Jesus is like coming back from, I guess, resurrecting from the dead, and he's making himself apparent to the apostles. And Thomas, he had the notion that he wouldn't believe that Jesus was really there unless he could physically touch him. He had to see it with his own eyes, and it had to tangibly be true to him. And Jesus has a saying, basically, Thomas, you believe because you saw, but blessed are them that have not seen but have believed. So similarly, a pattern that you see just forming within the chapter of Hebrews 11 is that even before some of these people seen what God said was about to happen, they went and moved and did the thing that God told them to do. Same with Noah and the ark, as it mentioned. Like that was literally a command from God, and God was, there was impending doom on, on a lot of the people, but Noah couldn't physically see it yet. It wasn't like it was, all right, it's all these great clouds. And I ain't never seen these clouds like this before. It looked like something's finna happen. The narrative, it doesn't really display that.
Right.
But everyone is, doing their own thing. And I think even Christ, he says in one of the gospel narratives that they were eating and marrying, just as they were in Noah's time. So during Noah's time, more than likely they were living life just like any other day. But Noah's probably looking ridiculous, saying, yo, the Most High is about to wreck stuff up. And then, Most High tells them to build an ark. And like that does take, a level of loyalty and fidelity toward the Most High. That's what faith is. You have to be faithful or loyal towards the Most High enough to do what he actually said, because no one's going to say you have faith in something that you won't even adhere to. Like you won't just, like, if you're not showing that you're truly convinced by it, then no one's gonna believe that you truly have faith in it. But I hear right there.
Con. And the thing is, a lot of us will have selective faith.
Mm-hmm.
We believe what we want to believe about things, and we call it faith. But all encompassing faith is when you just believe the Most High, and that's it. I don't care about my own personal feelings or what somebody else might say. Well, what did the Most High say? So at the end of the day, that's what we got to have, that all encompassing faith and believe that the Most High is going to do what he said he's going to do, because we're keeping up our end of the bargain, because it's a covenant, it's a contract. So it goes hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. No obedience, then you won't receive the blessings that you're supposed to receive. So, yeah, if you could, let's continue reading Hebrews 11, verses 8 through 10.
Yes, sir. Look at Hebrews 11, beginning at verse number 8. It says, by faith, Abraham, when he was called to go up out into a place which he should after receive for an inheritance, obeyed, and he went out, not knowing whither he went. By faith, he sojourned in the land of promise, as in a strange country, dwelling in tabernacles with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. For he looked for a city which hath foundations, whose builder and maker is God.
Man, that's key. So what we understand within this context, Abraham didn't know where he was going. But the only thing he was looking for was a city which have foundations, whose builder and maker is the Most High. Because he was trusting the Most High to lead and guide him wherever he was going. He didn't know where he was going. He went. He obeyed, and he trusted that wherever the Most High was sending him, he had already made his reservation sure and made sure he was going to be okay and he was going to be well taken care of. So looking back at verse 8, it says, by faith, Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should after receive for an inheritance, obeyed, and he went out not knowing whither he went. He didn't know where he was going at all. He had no idea. But let's go and look at Genesis chapter 12. Let's look at this passage.
And after this passage, you want me to take over the screen share, and I can.
Con, you can. All right. If you could read verses 1 through 4.
Yes, sir. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 12, beginning at verse number 1. Now the Lord had said unto Abram, get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. And in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. So Abram departed as the Lord had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him. And Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran.
Con. No pushback. No, where I'm going, God? Where you sending me to? He didn't care. He didn't worry about that because he knew and understood the best thing for him is whatever the Most High got for him. So let me shut my mouth and let me do as he said. Let's look at Isaiah 55. You can take over the screen share also.
Yes, sir. And can you call that passage one more time?
Isaiah 55 and grab verses 8 and 9.
Yes, sir. You can see it on the screen?
Not yet.
Yeah. That's strange. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing and I'm gonna share it again.
Come.
That's crazy work.
Yeah, if they give you issues again, we'll just see my screen again. Yeah,
it says frozen on my ass lock.
Yeah, we'll share mine. If it start acting right, just let me know.
Yes, sir.
All right. So Isaiah 55 out, verses 8 and 9.
Yes, sir. This is the book of Isaiah 55, verse number 8. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts.
Right. And Abram understood this. This is why he didn't question it. This is why he wasn't worried. He just said, all right, let's get up. Time to go. Let's move. That's the same attitude and the same drive and mindset we supposed to have is, hey, the Father said, let's get up. Let's move. Let's do it. Point blank without a question asked. Let's go to Isaiah 45 and verse 9.
It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 45, verse number 9. Woe unto him that striveth with his maker. Let the potsherd strive with the potsherds of the earth. Shall the clay say to him that fashioneth him, what makest thou? Or thy work? He hath no hands.
Right. Who are we to say, well, God, why you make it this way? Or why did you make me this way? And why can't I do that? Just obey him. Just trust him. And have that faith that whatever it is you're going through, wherever he's sending you, he's going to work it out in your favor. But a lot of the times we don't want to trust in his way. Just like he says, his ways are not our ways. We want to trust in our own way. We'll do it how we want to do it instead of trusting in the way that he has outlined for us. Not understanding that that's what's going to protect us. So just be obedient. And if you want to add something, you can before we continue in Hebrews.
No, that's an excellent point. Yeah, and I think that even goes back to just the etymology of the word faith. Even in the Greek, it deals with it's the Greek word pistis, deals with loyalty, deals with fidelity, deals with it can deal with assurance, but ultimately it's a showing of you being convinced and you being willing to actually abide by or go alongside with the entity or the being or the concept that you're placing faith and belief in. And so there are going to be point in times in which, say for instance, you might have a plan, or for instance, we're taking into account faith in God. You don't understand every single in and out of God's command, or what God might have even said in prophecy. You don't have like a full grasp of the why behind what he said, but your job is not to fully understand the why behind what God said. Like I don't and I think like a lot of people, they do make it a standard to understand the ins and outs of God to an extreme degree. And so now you have people that come forth and say, well, I have 100% truth and I understand literally every single thing that God has ever uttered. Is like, now you've deluded yourself. You're under a strong delusion at that point. But yeah, I mean, there are going to be certain things where it's just hazy. Like some things are ambiguous, to us, and at least all the information that's disseminated to us and available. But that's where your belief and your conviction and you being convinced in what the Most High actually said, regardless on you knowing the why or why not. There are going to be certain points and times where you just have to say, you know what, well, I'm rocking with it. It says that, I'm rolling with the Most High, but I yield right there.
Right, all praises, because that's not what he needs from us. He don't need us to understand.
Right.
He need us to be obedient. That's at the end of the day. All praises, beautiful point. So let's continue reading in Hebrews chapter 11. So if you could, let's read verses 11 through 16.
It's the book of Hebrews chapter 11, verse number 11. It says, through faith also, Sarah herself received strength to conceive seed and was delivered of a child when she was past age, because she judged him faithful who had promised. Therefore sprang there even of one, and him as good as dead, so many as the stars of the sky in multitude, and as the sand which is by the seashore innumerable. These all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. For they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country. And truly, if they had been mindful of that country from whence they came out, they might have had opportunity to have returned. But now they desire a better country, that is, in heavenly. Wherefore God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he hath prepared for them a city.
Khan, all praise to the Most High. So let's look at verse 13. It says, these all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. So these the key things in verse 13 are three key things. that we see. So, and I'll start with the beginning clause before I get to these three things. It says, these all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off. It's like when you think about some of the faithful brothers and sisters in the modern day that may have been law-practicing, law-keeping Israelites that died seeking the kingdom. They had a single eye. They didn't receive that promise yet. They haven't received the kingdom yet. Even our ancestors from antiquity, they haven't received the promises yet. Why? Because they haven't been resurrected yet, because the resurrection hasn't come. But their faith, through faith, while dying, they knew what their end result was going to be, that they were going to receive their prize, they were going to receive that reward. But these three key things, it says, even though they didn't receive the promise, they seen it far off, what was going to happen. They trusted the Most High. It says they were persuaded. That's one. They embraced them. And they confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. So they were persuaded of them. This reminds me, and I know it reminds y'all also, of when you first heard about the truth. In order to receive it, you had to be persuaded of it. Then, after you were persuaded, you were what? You did what? You embraced it to get to this point where you are today. And you confessed that you ain't know nothing. It says, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. And we're strangers and pilgrims on the earth before we find what the Most High has for our life. We lost sheep. We strangers, we're pilgrims, we're just sojourners, don't know where we going, blindfolded. But when you find out what's going on and what your purpose is and what the Most High has planned for you, now you have direction, now you have purpose. Now you know the way you're supposed to move and the way you're supposed to make decisions. It's completely different. Let's look at strangers in the Greek. Let's see. Okay, I thought I passed this right here. It's G3581. If you could.
Yes, sir.
It's not clicking for some reason. Okay, there we go.
Yes, sir. This is G3581. It's xenos, and it's an adjective. You look at the biblical usage. It says a foreigner, a stranger, alien from a person or a thing, without the knowledge of, without a share in, new, unheard of, one who receives and entertains another hospitably, with whom he stays or lodges a host.
And you don't have to do the definitions out. So I got the point highlighted, y'all, the usage we would apply, because we were aliens and strangers because we didn't have the knowledge of what we were supposed to do, and we didn't have a share in that covenant or in the kingdom until we realized who we were and we started to be obedient to the Most High. So we confess that, and this is how we are able to humble ourselves when we say, man, I know I don't know nothing. Not when I lived a life like I lived and I thought how I thought for so long, and now I find out all that was a lie. Let's look at let's go to Matthew 18 and read verses 1 through 4.
Yes, sir. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 18, beginning at verse number 1. At the same time came the disciples unto Jesus, saying, who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? And Jesus called a little child unto him, and set him in the midst of them, and said, verily I say unto you, except ye be converted and become as little children, ye shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. Whosoever therefore shall humble himself as this little child, the same is greatest in the kingdom of heaven.
Right. We don't get anywhere until we humble ourselves and say, hey, I don't know anything because I didn't know what the will of the Father was. I wasn't being obedient to his commandments. I was told that it's not possible for us to be obedient. Nobody can do it when it's not true. That's what the Father desires of us. So we do whatever we can. We do what's within all the power we have within us. We use that to fulfill whatever it is he has directed us to do and commanded us to do. So to become as little children, it says, and Jesus called a little child unto him and set him in the midst of them. And this is a beautiful parable, because if you look and just visualize how this would be viewed by the audience, they understand this is a child. And this child is very impressionable. We know that and understand that. It says, and said, verily I say unto you, except you be converted and become as little children, you shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. Children are sponges for learning. When they're very small, they're going to pick up any and everything. And guess what? You can learn from a child because they're very observant and they pick up everything. So this is what he's telling them. You have to humble yourself, be able to be teachable, just so you can understand what the will of the Father is and you're able to gain the kingdom. It says, whosoever therefore shall humble himself as this little child, the same is greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Not the person that's puffed up with pride and say, I know it all, I got it all together. And when they're introduced with a new idea, they don't even consider it. When you can't humble yourself, there's no way you're going to be able to get the kingdom. So all praise to the Most High. If you want to add something, you can before we keep going.
Yeah, all praises to the Most High. Just one quick point, just on not being able to humble yourself. You see, like throughout a myriad of Psalms and Proverbs, where the authors depict the idea of God concerning him standing far off from the arrogant and them that are haughty or prideful, so to speak. So that idea is clearly depicted through the biblical text, as far as, one being the opposite of humble, equaling an abomination or something that's distasteful to the Most High. But I yield right there.
Khan, all praises, all praises. Let's continue reading in Hebrews chapter 11. And let me get there real quick. And we're going to read verses 17 through 19.
It's the book of Hebrews chapter 11, verse number 17. By faith, Abraham, when he was tried, offered up Isaac. And he that had received the promises offered up his only begotten son, of whom it was said, that in Isaac shall thy seed be called, accounting that God was able to raise him up, even from the dead, from whence also he received him in a figure.
All praise to the Most High. So when you look at how Abram, even though he was told to go and offer up Isaac, he didn't hesitate. He was like, okay, let me just go. Just like we see how he moved earlier also when he told him to go into a land that he didn't even know. It says, accounting that God was able to raise him up, even from the dead, from whence also he received him in a figure. So he had the mindset of, if I got to sacrifice my son, I got to sacrifice my son. But I know what God promised me. He told me that through this seed, through Isaac, I was going to raise up nations, a nation of people. And what we see is his faith that the Most High still was going to do that, regardless of how this thing went, even if he had to resurrect his son Isaac. And when you look at just the power of his belief, that's solely what you think about, the power of his belief, that he knows the Most High has him, and that however this goes, he's still going to do what he promised him before this day. So all praise to the Most High. We're going to keep reading, and let's read verses 20 through 22. And y'all, this is like, just think about this mindset. This is a mindset we should have. It's like he's going to work it out mindset, regardless of whatever the situation may be. Let's continue reading now, 20 through 22.
This is Hebrews 11, verse 20. By faith, Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau concerning things to come. By faith, Jacob, when he was dying, blessed both the sons of Joseph and worshipped, leaning upon the top of his staff. By faith, Joseph, when he died, made mention of the departing of the children of Israel and gave commandment concerning his bones.
All praises. So it talked about Isaac, by faith, Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau concerning things to come. So it gave us 3 different examples of faith. By faith, Jacob, when he was dying, blessed both the sons of Joseph and worship, lean upon the top of his staff. But the one I want to key in on is verse 22. By faith, Joseph, when he died, made mention of the departing of the children of Israel and gave commandment concerning his bones. We're going to look at this a little closer so y'all can understand exactly what this is talking about, what this actual action was that took place that they're referring to in Hebrews 11 and verse 22. Let's go to Genesis chapter 50. And if you could read verses 24 through 26.
This is Genesis chapter 50, verse number 24. And Joseph said unto his brethren, I die, and God will surely visit you and bring you out of this land unto the land which he sware to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. And Joseph took an oath of the children of Israel, saying, God will surely visit you, and ye shall carry up my bones from hence. So Joseph died, being 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt.
All praise to the Most High. So this was way before the Exodus of Egypt. This was actually before the children of Israel went into slavery to the Egyptians. And Joseph was prophesying what was going to happen. And he told them, because he understood and knew what was going to happen, he said, hey, God will surely visit you, and you should carry up my bones from hence. So he let them know ahead of time, when you are brought out of Egypt, take my bones and bury them in that land that you'll go in. And this is the land of Canaan that they would eventually go into, which this is 430 years before they actually possessed the land of Canaan. So all praise to the Most High. And this is another sign or another evidence, another piece of evidence of faith, just like we saw with Abram, just like we saw with all of our other ancestors throughout this chapter. But this goes back to Hebrews 11 and verse 1. And I'll go back to it again. And it reads again, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. It's believing in the Most High that whatever he say he gonna do it. It don't matter how long it takes for it to come to pass. He's gonna make it happen eventually. We just have to trust in his word. So all praise to the Most High. If you want to add something, you can.
Nothing to add, King.
Come. So let's continue reading in Hebrews 11. Let's read verses 23 through 26.
Continuing on, verse number 23. It says, by faith, Moses, when he was born, was hid 3 months of his parents, because they saw he was a proper child, and they were not afraid of the king's commandment. By faith, Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season, esteeming the reproach of Christ greater riches than the treasures in Egypt, for he had respect unto the recompense of the reward.
I'll pray. So let's look at verse 24 and 25 so we can kind of raise a question. So it says, by faith, Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter. So how did he do this? Choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season. So, of course, we know there has to be some type of historical record of him choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season. So we're going to look at that account. Let's go to Exodus chapter 2. And let's read verses 11 through 14.
It's the book of Exodus chapter 2, beginning in verse number 11. And it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown, that he went out unto his brethren and looked on their burdens, and he spied an Egyptian smiting an Hebrew, one of his brethren. And he looked this way and that way, and when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. And when he went out the second day, behold, two of the Hebrews strove together. And he said to him that did the wrong, wherefore smitest thou thy fellow? And he said, who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Intendest thou to kill me as thou killedest the Egyptian? And Moses feared and said, surely this thing is known.
All praises. So let's look back at verse 11. It says, and it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown, that he went out unto his brethren and looked on their burdens. And he spied an Egyptian smiting a Hebrew, one of his brethren. Let's look at that word smiting in the Hebrew so we can get a better idea of what this means. Because I know, the first idea that comes to our head and we understand is he's beating him. But let's look at it a little closer. And the word for it is nakah, H5221, nakah. And the outline of biblical usage: to strike, smite, hit, beat, slay, kill, to be stricken or smitten, to be stricken or smitten, the puel stem and the nifal stem, to smite, strike, beat, scourge, clap, applaud, give a thrust, to smite, kill, slay, man or beast, to smite, attack and destroy, conquer, subjugate, ravage, to smite, chastise, send judgment upon, punish, destroy, to be smitten, to receive a blow, to be wounded, to be beaten, to be fatally smitten, be killed, be slain, to be attacked and captured, to be smitten with disease, to be blighted of plants. So according to the context, we would have to apply that this Hebrew brother was being beaten pretty bad, probably to the point where he was about to be killed. So we see what happened and how Moses acted. It says in verse 12, and he looked this way and that way, and when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. So he killed the Egyptian that was trying to kill his brother. So he protected his brother, loved his brother as he loves himself, because if it was happening to him, he would have protected himself and stopped that Egyptian from killing him. So when we look at how this continues in verse 13 and 14, it says, and when he went out the second day, behold, two men of the Hebrews strove together. And he said to him that did the wrong, wherefore smitest thou thy fellow? And this is different from how he handled the issue with the Egyptian in the Hebrew, right? Because he didn't ask no questions. He looked this way, that way, and he slayed the Egyptian. But when he saw his brothers fighting each other, he said, hey, man, why y'all doing that? You shouldn't be fighting each other. And it says, and he said, who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Intendest thou to kill me as thou killest the Egyptian? And Moses feared and said, surely this thing is known. So he understood the differences in how you're supposed to deal with your brothers and sisters versus how you deal with someone that's coming against your brother or sister who isn't of your people. So all praise to the Most High. And let's go back to Hebrews 11, and we're gonna read that again, because it brings everything into perspective when you actually look at the account and then you compare it to what was stated in Hebrews chapter 11. So let's go back to verse 24. It says, by faith, Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season. He could have looked the other way and said, I'm living a good life, man. I ain't gonna mess this up, man. I got plenty of gold and I get everything I want in this kingdom. I'm not gonna mess that up, man. They mind their own business. I'm gonna mind my own business. We got to understand that our own way of how we feel about things or our way of doing things is not as important as showing love to our brothers and sisters, trying to direct them and guide them into the path of righteousness. And that we always got to be there to be a shoulder. We got to be a crutch to our brothers and sisters. So all praise to the Most High. Ak, you want to add something, you can.
Nothing to add, King.
Khan, all praises. So let's continue reading. Let's read verses 27 through 38.
Continuing on verse 27. By faith he forsook Egypt, not fearing the wrath of the king, for he endured as seeing him who is invisible. Through faith he kept the Passover and the sprinkling of blood, lest he that destroyed the firstborn should touch them. By faith passed through the Red Sea, they passed through the Red Sea as by dry land, which the Egyptians, assaying to do, were drowned. By faith the walls of Jericho fell down after they were compassed about 7 days. By faith the harlot Rahab perished not with them that believed not, when she had received the spies with with peace. Verse number 32. And what shall I say more? For the time would fail me to tell of Gideon and of Barak and of Samson and of Jephthah, of David also, and Samuel, and of the prophets, who through faith subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions, quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, out of weakness were made strong, waxed valiant in fight, turned to flight the armies of the aliens. Women received their dead, raised to life again, and others were tortured, not accepting deliverance, that they might obtain a better resurrection. And others had trial of cruel mockings and scourgings, yea, moreover of bonds and imprisonment. They were stoned, they were sawn asunder, were tempted, were slain with the sword. They wandered about in sheepskins, goatskins, being destitute, afflicted, tormented.
Khan, all praises. And okay, let me make sure I went on mute. Khan, all praises. So verse 32, it says, and what shall I more say? For the time would fail me to tell of Gideon and of Barak and of Samson and of Jephthah, of David also, and Samuel, and of the prophets. So the writer of Hebrews, we can agree, he gave a whole lot of different examples of different brothers and sisters that showed and executed what faith truly looked like, right? But he's saying right here, like, hey, what shall I more say? For the time would fail me to tell of, all these other brothers and prophets, because he understood, like, hey, I got to eventually end this letter that I'm writing. If I could go on and on for days about so many other brothers and sisters I knew that executed and showed that they had and gave an open show of their faith. So he wraps it up in this manner, just saying, hey, I could go on and on, but I'm not. And let's continue read verses 33 through 37. I'm gonna read them again and go into a point. It says, who through faith subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouth of lions, quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, out of weakness were made strong, waxed valiant in fight, turned to flight the armies of the aliens. Women received their dead raised to life again, and others were tortured, not accepting deliverance, that they might obtain a better resurrection. And others had trial of cruel mockings and scourgings, yea, moreover of bonds and imprisonment. They were stoned, they were sawn asunder, were tempted, were slain with the sword. They wandered about in sheepskins and goatskins, being destitute, afflicted, tormented. But so many of us complain about so many things, and we ain't got it half as bad as these people had it, y'all. It's like, at the end of the day, it just makes me look at, we can do any and everything when we got the Most High. Whenever we got faith in the Most High, in his words and we're obedient to what he say do, we can do any and everything. Ain't nobody or nothing that can stop us. All praise to the Most High. All right, let's get Luke chapter 1 and verse 37.
This is Luke chapter 1, verse 37. For with God nothing shall be impossible.
Just that plain and simple, y'all. Nothing shall be impossible. And I know me and Art, we make a reference to how people like to say they live by this, but they'll tell you no man can keep the law. It says, for with God nothing shall be impossible. It's not possible for you to keep the law. Let's go to Philippians 4. And Art, if you could read verses 11 through 13.
Philippians 4, verse number 11. Not that I speak in respect of want, for I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content. I know both how to be abased, and I know how to be abound. Excuse me, I know how to abound everywhere in all things. I am instructed both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me.
Right. All praise to the Most High. So, like, regardless of a situation you may end up in, or how your flesh may be displeased with how you have to go through something, you should be trained in the spirit of a Mashiach that whatever I'm dealing with, I'm gonna be at peace with whatever the situation may be, because this is how you're being trained through the Holy Spirit to be. It says, I know both how to be abased and I know how to abound. So I know how to not have nothing. I know how to act when I do got something. Everywhere and in all things, I am instructed both to be full and to be hungry, both to be abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Christ which strengthen me. So all praise to the Most High. Ak, if you want to add something to that, you can.
Nothing. I mean, well, just a quick point, because a lot of people they complain when this passage gets brought out in regard to obedience, like using it for, well, you can do all things because you can do all things through Christ. Look at what Paul said.
Right.
People will complain because they'll say, "Oh, you're using that out of context. Paul didn't mean literally all things." But the interesting part about that is, when Paul is saying this, the context is about, in regardless of whatever condition he's in, he can get whatever he needs to get done, completed. So whether he's, struggling, or whether he's, much well off, he can get anything he needs to get accomplished through the strength of Christ. And that's via faith. The motif of Hebrews 11 is, it all goes back to that. But I yield right there.
All praise to the Most High. So we got 2 more verses. If you could just read those last 2 verses of Hebrews chapter 11. Not 2 more, Salakia. Yeah, it is 2 more. We stopped at 38, right? Yep, we did.
Yeah, went up to So book of Hebrews chapter 11, verse number 30.
We didn't read 38, Salakia.
Yeah, we stopped at 37. We stopped at 37. It's 38 through 40 though. It's the book of Hebrews chapter 11, verse number 38. Of whom the world was not worthy, they wandered in deserts and in mountains, and in dens and caves of the earth. And these all, having obtained a good report through faith, received not the promise, God having provided some better thing for us, that they without us should not be made perfect.
All praise to the Most High. So it says that these all, they obtained a good report. All our elders, all our ancestors, they obtained a good report through faith, but they didn't receive the promise. That's just only because it wasn't time to receive the promise yet. But they understand and knew the life that they lived eventually they're going to be able to obtain the promise, which is actually getting the kingdom and getting eternal life. So all praise to the Most High. I don't have anything else. That's the end. If anybody want to add something in the chat, got any comments or anything they want to share, you can at this time. Ark, if you got anything else, you can go ahead.
Just a quick point I had put in the chat just a few moments ago. Basically, the formula of most of Hebrews 11, it'll start off by saying by faith, and then what will follow is an action being done or an action was done. That's like 95% of what you see in the chapter. And you even see there's a point where it spoke about Moses, and it said through faith Moses kept the Passover. And like how many people do you hear use the concept of faith like that? Like a lot of times they'll say, yeah, well, I keep it in Christ, or I keep it through faith, and they're trying to utilize that as a euphemism to like disregard observing, whatever commandment is in scope. But Moses literally partook in the Passover based on the narrative of the Exodus. Like you seen the children of Israel, that was something that they literally did. But the reader said that was done through faith. So it actually, when you're just reading this chapter, recontextualizes a lot of those terms and those adages that a lot of people like to throw around, whether Christian or Israelite alike. They'll say, oh, well, I'm going to do it through faith, or we keep the law of God through faith. And that means something ambiguous. And really what they mean is they disregard the law, but they just, kind of think about God a little bit. Like that's not the concept of through faith or by faith, especially in regard to the New Testament writer, specifically the book of Hebrews. That's not how they utilize those particular adages or those phrases. But when they say by faith, it's coupled with an action that was the display of the said faithfulness. So that was that was like, one of the biggest points that I seen in the chapter. But, a lot of people, they still go to the hall of faith and, and they really disregard what's being laid out. And they go here to try to teach like, and the brother, he just did a lesson on stop trying to give the heathen Israel salvation. People, they go to this chapter to give the heathen Israel salvation. That's all they really care about this chapter for, and it's not even teaching that, but they disregard the 40 verses that display faith actually being displayed through works. And I think this is like a perfect chapter to display that. But I yield right there.
All praise to the Most High. Beautiful point made, and the water also for the reading. And I don't think I have anything else. So I want to end it by giving all praise, honor, glory to the Most High. I do so by Shem HaMashiach Yahweh Shai. So all praise to the Most High. Ak, if you want to go ahead and close it out, I believe you can.
Yes, sir. I'll close it out with Numbers 6 and 24 on down. Yahweh bless thee and keep thee. Yahweh make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. Yahweh lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. And with that, I'll say peace and shalom.
Shalom, family. Shalom out.
So I offer up my whole life. Got a strong wife, righteousness my only type. Isha on my side when I ride, I'm an Israelite. Resurrected out the valley, now I'm moving mountains. Ladder rain, flood the plains, it's a spirit fountain. I never feel the outcome, cause I only feel the alpha. I meant the olive to the top, I can't live without him.
Man is unstable in all his ways. Gotta trust the most high to provide. You can't waver. You gotta have faith. You gotta have faith. Never give up. No. The double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Gotta trust the most high to provide. You can't waver. You gotta have faith. You gotta have faith. Never give up. No.
I'm just like that tree planted by rivers of water. A river lives within me, so it flows like water. Gotta account for my actions, I do what I order. Obedience comes with sacrifice, I'm trusting the Father. Faith cometh by hearing, but your actions should follow. Gotta change and repent, that might not be your tomorrow. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Yeah, he say one thing, but do the opposite thing. If you ain't keeping the commandments, your sacrifice is in vain. Come before the throne of the Most High, you should be ashamed. If you hate your brother in your heart, you got the spirit of Cain. Unwavering faith, it can help you change your ways. But you can't doubt it, you can't break in reality, that ain't faith. Through frustration and tribulation, you gotta seek his face. Gotta endure to the end, cause that's how you win a race. You can't attain the prize if you can't do what it takes.
A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Gotta trust the most high to provide. You can't waver. You gotta have faith. You gotta have faith. Never give up. No. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Gotta trust the most high to provide. You can't waver. You gotta have faith. You gotta have faith. Never give up. No.
James chapter 1, verses 2 through 8. My brethren, count it all joy when ye fall into diverse temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. But let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. A double-minded man is unstable in all